Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're examining 10 things Sound of Freedom gets factually right and wrong.
Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids.
For this list, we're looking at the fact and fiction behind summer 2023's biggest sleeper hit. We'll be discussing the movie's factual accuracy, rather than the far-fetched conspiracy theories that have been tied to the film. Due to the heavy subject matter, this is your mature content warning. Have you seen Sound of Freedom? Leave a respectful comment below. The inciting incident. Right.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
Sound of Freedom is a film that has received praise and criticism, especially in terms of its factual accuracy. One of the events depicted that did reportedly take place is the inciting one. The film opens in Honduras, where brother and sister Miguel and Rocio are taken to a supposed casting call by their father. But when their father returns to pick them up, he finds no trace of them or the woman he left them with.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What would we do?
Tim Ballard, whom the film is based on, has admitted that this particular event was inspired by the acts of a woman named Kelly Joanna Suarez, a former beauty queen who used her reputation to orchestrate such crimes.
She's a major operator.
Timoteo necklace. Right.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
After seeking to make a more direct impact in saving a child, the movie's Tim gets his first success when he's able to intercept Miguel being transported through the Mexico-US border. While the name of the real-life Miguel hasn't been disclosed, this is how Ballard came to put him in protective custody. Soon after, in the film, Miguel gives Tim his sister Rocio's necklace with the name Timoteo on it.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
While Timoteo being Tim's name in Spanish makes this a huge coincidence, this is what actually happened, though it took Ballard's son pointing it out at home for him to make the connection. This proves to be a major motivator for Tim, as it did for Ballard in real life.
I actually told the producers to consider not telling the story because people won't believe it, but the little boy gave me a necklace.
The average victim. Wrong.
As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces.
One of the biggest grievances that anti-trafficking experts have is the movie's depiction of the average victim of human trafficking. In real life, about half of all victims are adult women. Most victims are trafficked for labor. The majority of young victims are actually teenagers. They also find fault with the movie's portrayal of how victims are trapped.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA.
Victims are more likely to already be in vulnerable situations, with poverty playing a key role. In this sense, many experts find that the film doesn't accurately convey the root causes and champion preventative measures.
God's children are not for sale.
Strangers. Wrong.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
The real-life Tim Ballard has stated that the featured villains in the movie are all drawn from criminals he's encountered in his career, including the aforementioned Suarez. However, another generalization the movie seems to get wrong is the average perpetrator. Early in the film, we see a chilling montage of people absconding with seemingly random youths. Experts have also called this out for being inaccurate, as victims are more likely to know their aggressors than not.
So, she's gone.
Often, perpetrators are locals, friends, or even family members, many of whom offer false promises. So again, you have another instance of the film supposedly not addressing the systemic issue at play. Vampiro. Right.
Kept your mouth shut, did your time. Could have picked up where you left off. Bought yourself a condo on the beach. Instead, you're doing this. Why?
About halfway through the film, Tim meets a man in Colombia known as Vampiro, played by Bill Camp, a well-off individual who's taken to using his resources to fight the system from the inside. Sometime later, we learn Vampiro had his revelation after an encounter with someone far too young.
I notice her foot. She's got these little pink cat faces painted on her toenails. And it hit me. She's not 25.
Reportedly, Vampiro was a real-life player in Ballard's operation, who also went by Batman. However, his backstory was embellished. Not only did the real Vampiro not go to prison earlier in life, but the trafficked individual he dealt with was a full-grown adult who instead had a daughter who was in much the same situation.
All of a sudden, I'm hit by this tidal wave. This tsunami of darkness. And I know I'm the sadness in her eyes. Me. I'm the darkness.
Tim resigns. Right.
It's over, Tim. Close up. Get on a plane and come back home.
Through much of the film, Tim has difficulty getting backing from his Homeland Security investigations overseers. Instead of returning to the US, he's compelled to continue his search for Rocio and thus resigns his position.
No budget for this, no jurisdiction. And I'm looking at the Colombians who I'd promised, and they're like, well, you can't just leave. This won't happen if you just leave.
In real life, Ballard was conducting a joint operation in both Colombia and Haiti at the time, and was much less confident about his decision. He revealed that when he called his wife Catherine, like in the movie, part of him wanted her to ask him to come home. But the real Catherine also spurred him on, though it had a little more to do with their religious beliefs.
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
Operation Underground Railroad. Right.
How long you been doing this?
12 years.
How do you do it?
After leaving Homeland Security, Tim starts his own ventures in ensuring the safety of young people. While we only see these early dealings, this is what would eventually turn into Operation Underground Railroad, a non-profit organization that focuses its efforts on anti-trafficking.
This job tears you to pieces. This is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
Operation Underground Railroad conducts sting operations to rescue victims. It has also been accused, however, of ties to conspiracy theories and embellishing reports of its work. Leading anti-trafficking expert Ann Gallagher criticized the organization as unethical and as lacking understanding about how to dismantle criminal networks. This has made the organization a controversial one.
And that's the beauty of this film, is that everybody can, at the end of the film, have the opportunity to pay it forward.
External funding. Right.
In December of 2013, when Glenn Beck was starting to raise the money, and that was like, oh crap, now the money's here, I'm gonna have to actually quit my job.
As mentioned before, Tim pulling out of Homeland Security leaves him without financial backing to continue his investigation. He's eventually introduced to a wealthy Colombian citizen named Paul, whom he persuades to help them by appealing to his moral center. In reality, Ballard was actually assisted in this way by political commentator Glenn Beck, who helped raise the funds for them to continue their subsequent operations.
Is this after you made the decision to leave?
Glenn started to help me raise money as I was leaving.
Ballard has said that Beck was even written into the movie, but that his part was cut for time restraints.
He was in the original script, by the way.
Yes.
But they just the room.
The amount of space.
We can also see how Beck's presence may have been a little distracting narratively. Operation Triple Take. Right. One of the most heart-pounding sequences in the film is when Tim and his team lure traffickers and their victims to a remote island. While they don't find Rocio, they do rescue 54 and arrest all the conspirators.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Though the film has been called out for embellishing certain details, this is one that was surprisingly lowballed to the audience. Not only did Operation Triple Take, in which Suarez was detained, actually happen, but the rescue count was much higher in reality. In total, over 120 trafficked individuals were accounted for, with the majority of them actually being adults.
The actual number was 130, 127.
So the 54 that's in the film
is only telling a third of the story.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. One-man rescue mission. Wrong.
We're talking about extracting an 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels.
After failing to locate Rocio, Tim learns that she may be being held by the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia deep in the Amazon.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
Posing as doctors, he and Vampiro make their way towards the compound, with Tim ultimately getting the job done himself.
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own.
While Ballard conducted a similar operation, it was on the border of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they were instead looking for someone named Gardy, whom they still haven't found. Ballard also never conducted a one-man mission, nor did he kill a captor along the way. It's the most sensational part of the movie, so it's not hard to see that it's also the most fictionalized.